Welcome, Lund loyalists, YouTubers watching on John Lund Unleashed and the Bay Area Sports Collective, those watching on X and Instagram and listening on Apple and Spotify. It's John Lund Unleashed and JohnLundUnleashed.com. Brought to you by Riopel Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. Right now featuring amazing stem cell technology. For all your pain and for the guys, check out the latest in low T and testosterone therapy to make you feel like yourself again. Riopel Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center at riopelcosmetic.com. Now, all juiced up and ready to go. Here's Johnny.
Yes, episode 121. Thanks for joining us on a Monday edition of the show. It is outstanding to have you in attendance on a Monday edition of the show. We took no days off this weekend. No days off. Bill Belichick. Saturday, we did the Saturday morning show. We're normally here Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific time, but you may be watching the show whenever you want, which is great. It's one of the great parts about YouTube. Lots of different ways that you can watch and listen to episode 121 of John Lund Unleashed on YouTube and with the Bay Area Sports Collective. So make sure that you subscribe to both John Lund Unleashed on YouTube and on the Bay Area Sports Collective, where my show is. You could have jumped over to Tom Tolbert last night as he was drinking beers, doing analysis from Houston in the post-game show. He did it right after my post-game show, and we're going to have post-game shows after all Warriors playoff games. We had a great time last night celebrating a Game 1 win, so we'll get into that. Welcome if you're watching on X, at John Lund Radio on X, at John Lund Radio on Instagram, as well as Twitch, LinkedIn, and Facebook, any of those ways. But we'd love to have you migrate over to YouTube and join us here. We have a great chat room, a good community, a lot of people. We love talking sports and having a ton of fun. So if you come over to YouTube and look for John Lund Unleashed and subscribe, hit the like button on that as well, and put those alerts on because we put out stuff all through the day and with Bay Area Sports Collective as well. Like I said, lots of shows. My show, Tom Tolbert, Polymac Particles, along with Creative Tony, and we've added Rod Brooks, and we'll add much more as well. Rod Brooks' show, by the way, is called Quality Hang. So any of those shows you can watch all the time. We're continuing to add to those, and it's going to be a great time. It already is a great time. So anyway, if you would do those small things for all this form of entertainment, that would be absolutely outstanding. Appreciate it. We'll get out to roll call in just a second. 95-85. Warriors over the Rockets. I have all sorts of great video and post and all that kind of stuff, so stay right there. We did at the beginning, let me just do this because we always do this. They can win it all. As I was watching that thing last night, I'm thinking, okay, offensive rebounding is an issue. I told you that all last week. I told you before the game. Did a preview of game 1 at John Lund Unleashed, and then the post-game show last night, we talked about it. So that's going to be an issue. Size is going to be an issue, but we will get into everything Warriors. But those two guys, let me just pop this up one more time. Those two guys, Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, are why. Jimmy is great, and they obviously Houston made a run because they're a good basketball team, but the Warriors showed their veteran experience, did a lot of good things, played tremendous defense, which was never talked about when the Warriors won their championships, about how good defensively they were. Since they got Jimmy Butler, they are the number one team defensively in all of the NBA, defensive efficiency. And now with Jimmy Butler, they're 25-7 overall and 15-4 on the road. Nobody wants to see the Warriors. As you can see right there, let's go through the chalkboard before we go out to talk to the people and say hello. Curry and Butler, 56 of the 95. So it wasn't a perfect game last night. They're going to need more help. We'll get into that. Speaking of more help, Houston, Sengun, 26 points. Nobody else really showed up. Fred VanVleet, we'll give you the box score in just a second. There's a veteran guy, 2 for 13 from 3. He just wasn't good. He was 4 for 19 overall. Jalen Green's their leading scorer. He did nothing last night. He was 1 for 7 for 3 points at the half, and then he came out in the second half, scored a bucket, and I thought, well, he's going to be much more aggressive in the second half. They just couldn't get things going. You're not going to, in the playoffs, get the easy buckets you did, get off on fast breaks like you do, all those kind of things. You got to win in the half court. Now, they get offensive rebounds, like we said, and have talked about already ad nauseum, and we're one game into this thing, but we will discuss. I think that the Warriors run at the end, 11-2, showed that veteran experience that Houston does not have. Other NBA series we'll get into, specifically the Lakers and the Warriors, Lakers and the Timberwolves, because if the Warriors were to get by the Rockets, and I'm not presuming that, I think it's going to be a tough series still, even after the win and stealing home court advantage. But Minnesota, I told you this, was a tough matchup for the Lakers. So when I said it would actually be, and I wrote this at johnlundunleashed.com, and people went, what are you talking about? They're going to play the Lakers anyway. I said avoiding the Lakers in the first round because of the matchup issue would be a good thing for the Warriors, and I think they would beat the Rockets. And then I said I think the Timberwolves can beat the Lakers, and you'd play the Timberwolves, which isn't an easy matchup, but I think it's better than playing the Lakers, and I think that could lead itself to the Warriors potentially going far, plus the rest, which we'll get into. And Steve Kerr talked about it before and after the game, so we have some great sound, so don't go anywhere on that. The Giants get great starting pitching. I bitched and moaned on Friday and said they got to get the starters going. And then Logan Webb was awesome on Friday, and Justin Verlander deserved better luck on Saturday. Ryan Walker, I'm not getting on him. He had been perfect in save opportunities and finally blows one. So I'm not going to get on Ryan Walker about it. That stuff happens. It's just unfortunate when Justin Verlander had it all going, was going to get his first Giants win, and Walker blows it. Then on, let's see, that was on, what day was that? Sunday? Let me go back. Landon Roop was tremendous on Saturday. So they got the starting pitching going, but they still did not win the series against the Angels, which is something that you got to do now. The Brewers are in town. We'll get to that. Draft week, the NFL draft week, you saw on the cover there, the small little thing I put in the corner there, draft week. We got to get into draft week. And there's something really interesting that Adam Schefter wrote on the latest as far as the 49ers are concerned. So stay for that. We'll do a bunch of draft stuff this week. Obviously the Warriors, but they don't play till Wednesday. So we got a couple of days to dork out on the draft. I will give you a final mock draft, my final thoughts on the draft. I'm writing a piece right now that I will release on Wednesday along with a video. So make sure you stay tuned for that and keep those alerts on. So lots of draft stuff. A.J. Brown has his car stolen and does a video to plead to get it back. I thought San Francisco was the city that everybody was saying was so messed up. Anyway, A.J. Brown pleads to Eagles fans to get him his car back, his whip. And we got Wednesday's final mock, like I said, Caboose Pistol, which is a good one that was actually sent to me. I forgot to post this one. I'll have to do that during the show and multitask. And random things which happen throughout the show if you are new around here. Thank you for joining us. We'll get lots into the Warriors, and I want to get your thoughts about game one in just a moment. Give me your thoughts on what you liked, what you didn't, how you're feeling about the Warriors. But let me say hello and good morning to everyone, which is a tradition unlike any other. Baba Booey. Hey now, Bucko Sports is here today. Good morning, Scott. Great to see you, my friend. There's two Scotts, Scott Rosenberg and Scott Saunders. Good morning to both of you guys. Good to see you here. Hurley Bird, it is great to see you. John, Dom, Lund Lunatics, Lund Addicts. I like that, by the way, Dom. Very nice, my friend. Very nice. Good way to start the day. Love the logo, by the way. We updated the logo for, got a busy weekend. Friday night, we did bottom of the pint. So we did the Giants 2-0 loss. Logan Webb was great, but they couldn't score any runs. So that wasn't a whole lot of fun, but we chugged beers anyway. Skaters on baseball. It is great to see you, my friend. Very nice to see you. Vernon, good morning. James, good morning to you. Francis, rockin' new era. Hey, yo, John Holmes. I hadn't seen John Holmes in a while. It was great to see you back, John Holmes. We got a lot of draft week to talk about. Absolutely. Joy, good morning to you. We saw Joy late last night as well. Nice to see you. This is one of my favorites. Good morning. I do have a nice coffee today. Hi, Catalina. Very nice to see you. Mark, good morning to you, my friend. We got a lot of good people in the room today. Enrique is here. If I miss you, I will catch you at some point. Like I said, Kyle, it is great to see you. Tacky, hello, my friend. Very nice to see you this morning. Everybody, Chris, it is great to see you. And it was great to see you last night as well. Good morning to all. All right, let's get to this whole thing and talk about the Warriors last night. A dominant performance. I'm going to call it a dominant performance because, look, the Rockets are going to make a run. They're the number 2 seed. So when Steph Curry hit the nutty shot, and I started the show with this last night, so let's just start it with it again. Kevin Harlan's call is unparalleled. He is awesome. I'm going to tell you a story about Kevin Harlan in just a second, but here you go. Our friend Kevin Harlan on TNT on the call. This is when I thought the game was over, stupid me. Steph with one of a couple of crazy threes he hit last night.
He and Butler, as I said, 18 apiece. He'll dance. He'll throw up a shot. Oh, my goodness.
Are you kidding me?
Geometrically, that should not have happened.
What a great call. Just what a great call in the moment. This is not much of a limb to go out on. Nobody else is going to ever do this again. Nobody else is going to ever do this again. There may be long-distance shooters, like Dame Lillard's a really good long-distance shooter, and there's long-distance shooters in the league. Trey Young can shoot from distance. Lots of guys, because they're going to come up doing this. But the shots that he hits with the degree of difficulty which he hits them with, the one that he hit from the Toyota logo, where it was like the Rockets weren't going out that far because it's like, well, he's not going to shoot that. And there it goes. It's in. Nobody's ever going to do that. So I don't have to tell Bay Area sports fans or NBA fans in general, if you're new in the room and you're checking out the playoffs, which we'll get to the rest of the playoffs in just a second, but just what he's doing. And I don't need to tell you to appreciate it, but it's just unbelievable what he's doing. It's not only the 31 points last night, it's just the degree of difficulty in which he does it. And nobody else is going to do it ever again. And I don't mean just shooting from distance, just being a great shooter. He's just a showman, and he's not doing it to be a showman. He's doing it because he has confidence in those shots going in, and he hit a couple last night, and they are backbreakers for the opponent. That's just all there is to it. I watched all the post-game stuff with the Rockets, and those shots are just backbreakers because they're like, what else are we supposed to do? How else are we supposed to defend the guy? We made him take an off balance, as Kevin Harlan perfectly said, geometrically, that's not supposed to happen, shot with a degree of difficulty. I don't know. In the NFL, they do like catch rate. What's the percentage of that catch? Like, it was a 2% catch rate. Brandon Ayuk off the face mask of the Lions defender in the NFC Championship game. That was like a 2% chance that ball was going to be completed. I mean, the chance of that ball going in for anyone not named Steph Curry is Blutarski. 0.0. You're just not taking that shot. I mean, Draymond Green late in the clock had to take a heave three-pointer. It wasn't even in the same area code. It wasn't even in Houston. Seriously, it was in Austin. It was in Dallas. It was in wherever. Abilene, Lubbock. It was just, it wasn't even close to the basket. It wasn't even in the area code of the basket. That's what normal people do. Like when they have that degree of difficulty with a shot, understand that shot is not even close to going in with anybody else in the history of the game. Not people that were on the court last night, not current NBA players, not former NBA players, anybody. It's just not going in, not even hitting in. So anyway, great game by the Warriors last night. There are some concerns about it, but let's start here. Curry and Butler, 56 of the 95 points. Other guys are going to have to step up because they're going to adjust things. That's what playoff series are about. It's not going to be like that every single time. Now, let me start with the positives. 56 of the 95 points scored by Curry and Butler. I'll admit this 100%. Somebody under the comments of the postgame show said, aren't you embarrassed that you said things about Jimmy Butler before he was traded here? Do we have short memories? Did you want that Jimmy Butler on the Warriors, the guy that was being a giant pain in the ass with Miami, the guy that was undermining their entire season? Everybody thought the same thing. That wasn't the Jimmy Butler I wanted. Now, the Jimmy Butler that's on this team right now, they're 25-7 with him and 15-4 on the road. That Jimmy Butler, that's clearly a perfect Robin to Curry's Batman. It's not Green. It's not. We talk about this all the time. Without this trade, we're not talking right now. Without this trade, they're not in the playoffs. Without this trade, Steph Curry's probably working up a way that he can, in a nice guy fashion, because he wants to come back to the organization and be a part of the ownership group, how he can somehow ask for a trade without being an ass. Like that's where they would have been without Jimmy Butler. He saved the franchise. And he's a perfect Robin to the Batman of Curry. And that's why I used the cover today and said they can win this thing. So we're in game one, and I'm not jumping ahead. Well, I kind of am. But they can win this thing. And there's nobody that wants to play him. And I think the Timberwolves are going to beat the Lakers, not because they're up 1-0. I said it before even the series. I just looked at the matchups and said, that ain't good. I like Doncic a lot. Anthony Davis really would have helped him out in this series. Now, guys like Naz Reid, are they going to do what they did in game one? Again, we'll get to the other series. But I just think that that's going to be a tough series for the Lakers. Then you play the Timberwolves, which that's not going to be an easy series. Yes, I am jumping ahead. My point is, when you watch the game last night, you can see the way that Curry and Butler work off each other. The main concern I have of the 56 of 95 being scored by those two guys is there's got to be other guys that step up. Podziemski had 14. He was okay, but he had a lot of open looks, and he's got to hit more of those. Moses Moody, for a minute, it looked like the moment was too big. That it was just too much. Remember, this is a guy that generally at the beginning of the year wasn't even in the rotation, much like Jonathan Kaminga is not now. And there's a lot of long athletes on Houston's team. He did hit a major corner three late in the game, did Moses Moody. Huge. But he's not that big. He's not that long. He's a nice player, and he doesn't screw up. And I've always advocated that Moses Moody should be part of the rotation. I like that he's starting. They're not going to change the fact that he's starting unless this thing goes sideways. Let's say they lose 3 straight. Steve Kerr's going to have to make a change at that point. Everybody's going to ask about Jonathan Kaminga. The only thing I'll say is I understand statistically, and you go deep into the analysis of everything, the analytics. Doesn't play well with Jimmy Butler, kind of redundant. Doesn't play well in lineups with Draymond Green, so he's just not in the rotation because Butler played 40 minutes last night, and Curry and Green, because of rest, which I'll get into in a second, are going to play in the high 30s. So where is the spot for Kaminga? There isn't one, because the open spots on this team, think about what Podziemski does. Think about what Guy Santos even does. Think about what Moses Moody does. Those guys are grinders. Those guys don't need the ball in their hands. Those guys are complementary players. For Jonathan Kaminga to be effective, he's not a standstill shooter. He's not a catch and shoot guy. He's not really a great rebounder, which is something that they need, but he is a tremendous athlete. And the Rockets are very athletic. And so at some point, I do think that Kerr's going to look down the bench and see him and say, okay, because they're going to great game one win, but not everything is great. But one of the things I would say, okay, great Curry and Butler, but they need other guys. Podziemski's got to hit more open shots. Moody's got to be more of a factor. Quentin Post, they're going to keep chesting Quentin Post, and I understand that. He's big, not a great defender, not a great rebounder, but does give him size. I said this yesterday, and I still think it's going to be a fact. Kevon Looney's your best rebounder. You're going to give up some on the offensive end. There's no doubt. If Green and Looney and Butler are on the court together, then that puts a tremendous amount of pressure on the other two guys that are on the court. Is that Steph Curry and Buddy Hield? Is that Steph Curry and Podziemski? You've got to have two really good shooters to space the floor, and with those three guys, you really don't have it. So I know they're hesitant to put Looney in those lineups, but last night, for example, Houston, just for a few minutes, put Steven Adams on the floor with Şengün and Jabari Smith. So they had three guys above 6'10" on the floor, and they were bludgeoning them on the offensive rebounds. The reason they got back into the game, so Curry hit that crazy three that I just showed you. That put them up 63-41 at that point. Or 64-41, sorry. It was 64-41 and about 6:40 left in the third quarter. They're up 23 points, and you're thinking, ball game. And then offensive rebounds happen, a couple of dumb fouls, a couple of stupid turnovers. All of a sudden, they had a 17-3 run, did Houston, to end the third quarter. It was 69-60 going into the fourth, and all of a sudden, they had a dogfight in their hands. But they finish on an 11-2 run, as I put there on the chalkboard. Golden State ends on an 11-2 run, and they go away and win this game number one. So, again, 25-7 with Butler, now 15-4 on the road for the Warriors. What do they need to improve? Pretty simple. During the season, and I preached this a lot before the series started, the Rockets averaged 14.6 offensive rebounds a game, which was the best in the league, and 18.1 second chance points. Last night, 22 boards on the offensive end, 22 second chance points to only 12 for the Warriors, so plus 10 in that category. That's what kept them in the game. The Warriors, and this is what will be an adjustment for Houston, is Houston didn't realize, they're young guys, didn't realize, look, it's the playoffs, boys. It's going to be a half-court game. You've got to execute in the half court. Jalen Green is used to getting up and down the floor, flying, getting out on breaks, scoring easy buckets. You're not going to see that. This is the most efficient defensive team in the league since Jimmy Butler arrived. And so let me pop the box up really quick, because this is going to show you everything. Their backcourt, amaze your friends with this one. The backcourt for Houston last night was 7 of 34. 7 of 34. Let me get the box score up here. I have so many things open on my deal here. But there you go. So there's the final box. That's the big thing that jumps out. Look at right down here. 3 for 15 and 0 for 4 for Green, had 7 points. And Fred VanVleet, who was supposed to be a veteran guy, hey, I won a championship. I beat the Warriors. Yeah, that's because Durant and Thompson got hurt, but whatever. 4-19, 2 of 13, 10 points total. And this is not going to happen in game 2. 7 of 34 for 17 points. So Ime Udoka, the head coach of the Rockets, one of the things he's got to do is scheme ways, figure out ways to get his backcourt untracked, because they're not going anywhere with that kind of a presence. And I think Jalen Green did show his nature, is the fact that he's young. You got to get to the rim. You can't just jack shots. So you got to get to the rim, and the Warriors did a nice job there. Şengün was the only one that really hurt him. Like I said, 11 of 18, 26 points for Şengün. Dylan Brooks is a complete non-factor. I said that. I think it's great for the Warriors that there was, I think it was Kevin Harlan who said he spoke to Brooks before the game, and Brooks said, yeah, I'm gonna be mellow. I've hurt my team in the past. That's a dude that has to play with fire and get in Draymond Green's face and try to get Draymond Green off of his game, and he did not. Thompson is a great defensive player, an incredible athlete, a really good offensive rebounder. He's not a shooter. He's got a little bit of a mid-range game, if that, but he only scored 8. So and he was minus 16, which was worst on the team as far as if you believe in plus minus kind of thing. So overall, you can see the Warriors flip side of that whole thing. Curry 12 of 19, 31 points. Jimmy Butler gets to 25, but not only that, 6 assists for Jimmy. Such a good passer. Had that roll to the basket when he got doubled, and Podziemski got a layup off of those things. Moody hit the 1-3 that was huge, 7 points. And I'm not equating everything to points here. It's just Moody. Moody's a guy to keep an eye on. Draymond Green was okay. He's got to take the threes that come to him a couple of times. I think he forced a couple of threes trying to get things going offensively. He doesn't need to worry about those kind of things. His whole thing, I'm going to get into rest in just a second and play something from Steve Kerr. His whole thing is defensive end. I don't know. I don't care what he gives you offensively. He's got to be a warrior on the defensive end, and it's going to be really, really difficult. And then, like I said, Podziemski hit some shots, but we kind of got spoiled by Podziemski at the end of the season. He goes 5 of 13, 3 of 8 for 14 points. I said if the Warriors are going to go really, really far, it's got to be the guy at the end of the year. The 20-point Podziemski, the guy hitting maybe 5 or 6 threes a night. You're not going to have it every night. I understand that. But last night, he was okay. I don't think he was great. I think it was okay. The one thing about Podziemski that I'll give him a ton of credit for, look at the 8 boards. You're getting 8 boards from one of you guys in the backcourt, and that's huge for the Warriors as they try to keep up from a rebounding perspective against the Rockets. So there is your box score. Let me give you something that's really, to me, this was before the game. All right, let me give you this before the game because this is what's going to be huge to me in this series. You're talking about Steph Curry at 37 and Draymond Green 35 and Jimmy Butler 35. They got off from Tuesday to Sunday. They got all that time off Tuesday to Sunday, and they don't play again until Wednesday. And Draymond Green's going to just have to play a lot of 5. And look, he is one of the final 3 for Defensive Player of the Year. But Şengün's just a terrible matchup for him. He's long, he's big. It's going to be difficult to keep him both off the glass and from scoring from close in. But this is one of the keys to the entire series. And because the Warriors got the 4 days before and played the way that they did in game 1, and now they have until Wednesday, this is Steve Kerr before game 1 on the importance of the rest for the Warriors.
Battling Zubats, battling Şengün, battling, Jokic. I mean, you name it. The emotion and the energy Draymond has to put forth is incredibly draining. And when he's tired, when he's fatigued, that's when he's most vulnerable, frankly. And he knows that. He and I have talked about it. So the rest, the preparation that's going into this, I think will help all of us.
All right, so again, that was before the game, and I got some other stuff, and Jimmy Butler talked about it after the game as well. I'm going to play that. So we got Jimmy Butler, we got Steph post-game, we got Steve Kerr having some fun with Tim Kawakami post-game that I'll play for you as well. But bottom line is this. Rest is huge in this series for an older team. You don't play back-to-backs in the playoffs, but not only you're not playing back-to-back, especially in the first round where they kind of elongate this thing, it's a little tighter as the playoffs go on, but they don't play till Wednesday, so they're going to have played 2 games in 8 days are the Warriors. A massive advantage. Like right now, Houston would love to play today. Mainly a young team. I mean, you got your Fred VanVleets and Steven Adams. And by the way, Steven Adams was a major factor. Last night, the big Kiwi, what do you have, 12 boards? He was really tough on the offensive glass for the Warriors. So that's another guy that they're going to have to deal with. And that's going to be the way that the Rockets win games in this series is they'll figure some more things out in the half court. The Warriors are still going to be really good defensively, and they're not going to give up easy baskets. But the second chance points between Şengün and Steven Adams and Jamari Smith at 6'10", and the way that they can just generally rebound Jalen Green's a tremendous athlete. They're just great offensive rebounders. Amen Thompson, I should mention, he's their second leading offensive rebounder. Şengün's at about 4 offensive boards a game during the regular season, and Thompson's around 3. So they get those extra possessions. They had the most field goal attempts in the league, did the Rockets, and it's just all about offensive rebounding. So the Warriors have got to shore that up. Maybe that's Looney. Maybe they just stay with Post and think that because he gives them floor spacing on the offensive end, which is huge for them, that you can't play Looney, Green, and Butler together because they're just not three-point shooters. Or Houston's not going to respect their three-point shot, which means that they can throw more at Steph Curry, which, by the way, a lot of stuff I got in the comments after the post-game show last night was the way that they were bodying and being physical on Steph Curry. I have no issue with officials that are consistent. And last night, if you watch the game, it was a physical game. That's the playoffs. We all know that. But quit sending me clips of Steph Curry getting held and pushed and pummeled, and that's just the way it goes. And for me, I'd rather have the series be like that because the Warriors can be physical as well. And I think they can intimidate the Rockets in this thing. You saw Draymond Green at one point, and he stayed under control, but he kind of bumped and elbowed Şengün during an inbounds play, and then they kind of had to break it up a little bit. That's what veteran teams do. They want to test your mettle and see what you're all about. But the one thing I will say about this game, and then I want to hit out to some comments and thoughts because I see a bunch of good ones out there. The one thing I'll say about a series is that was just round one. If we think of it like a boxing match, that was round one. And the Warriors came out, punched him in the face, basically said, it's going to be a half-court game. You're going to get some offensive boards because that's what you do. But you're not going to stop Steph Curry like you did on April 6th. He's not going 1 for 10, 1 for 8. You can do whatever you want. Early in the game, by the way, this is vastly underrated. Steph Curry, early in the game, they were running him off the three-point line, and Steph said, all right, you want to do that? I'll take free layups. So he got about 3 or 4 free layups, and then Houston – and again, they didn't adjust because Ime Udoka, their head coach, said, stop running him off the three-point line and stop giving him layups. They'll do that all day long. But what happened is just from a human being standpoint, they said, okay, Steph is going to the rim. We better watch that. So now he's like, okay, now I got open stuff. But remember, 2 or 3 of those shots that Steph hit, the Rockets are looking over at the sidelines with their hands up like this. Like, what the hell do you want me to do? Like, I was right there. The guy hit an off-balance 28-foot shot on the right angle. That, again, I'm no chemist or scientist, as you well know. That's not supposed to happen. The ball's not supposed to do that. So there are my thoughts on the Warriors. Feel very confident. Just to recap, then I want to hit you up and give me your thoughts on this series so far. I feel very, very confident in the series. I said Warriors in 6 coming in. Offensive rebounds, a major issue, no doubt. It's just round one in what I think is going to be a long boxing match. Other guys have to step up. There's no question about it. Jimmy and Steph will do what they do. Draymond Green is going to get plenty of rest, which is a major factor and a positive for the Warriors. And I said this before the playoffs started at all. The keys are going to be guys like Podziemski and Moses Moody and Quentin Post, guys like that. What kind of minutes can they give those guys? Last night, when you saw the negative, like when Steph left near the end of the first quarter, the Warriors actually extended their lead in the non-Curry minutes. Those kind of things are going to be massive in this series. Defensively, this is back to the Warriors' defensive-minded teams, and nobody who doesn't watch the Warriors on a consistent basis is going to give their defense any credit. But when they won championships, that's what they did. And that's why at the beginning of the show today, I said they are a championship contender, not because of their offense. They're the most efficient defensive team in the league since Jimmy Butler arrived. If you're the most efficient defensive team in the sport, I don't care if you play football or baseball. And I'm talking about pitching really when it comes to baseball, but when you prevent the other team from scoring better than anybody else in any sport at any level, you can win a championship. And that's where the Warriors are. They are the best and most efficient defensive team right now. And Houston saw it last night. And they went, whoa, this isn't the team we saw a lot of the year. So they'll make adjustments off that. Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet are not going to play that poorly. Şengün, I have a feeling, is just going to play like that the entire series because even if Draymond Green's the defensive player of the year and he's one of the 3 finalists, that's just not a great matchup for him. So what he gives you offensively is going to be a bonus as far as Draymond is concerned. And I'm not talking about threes. I'm talking about running the offense, assists, those kind of things. He's got to be efficient in that way, but he's got to play defense. And they may need some help. Looney may, from a rebounding and a defensive standpoint, may help on Şengün. But if he scores 26, and I have a feeling, and I tell you this term all the time, which is dictate how you're going to get beat, I think the Warriors said, look, if Şengün scores 26, but everybody around him is poor offensively, as VanVleet was and as Jalen Green was, and basically everybody. Jabari Smith got into double figures late. There was one other player that scored 10. They weren't efficient. I think VanVleet scored 10. I think VanVleet with the final 3 hit 10 points. He was 2 of 13 from 3, though. So anyway, there you go. There is a ton of different stuff to get on. I still have a lot of post game to play for you, including Jimmy on being tired, Steph Curry on working off that 3-point, and I have a little bit more Steve Kerr. Sometimes you scratch your head. That's all I'll say. And Steve Kerr's a very nice guy. So anyway, we'll play some of that. We'll get into the Giants. We'll get into the NFL draft. We have not forgotten about you, but let me go out and see what people are saying. Give me your thoughts and how confident you feel, not only about the Warriors in this series and comments and thoughts from game 1, but also just as a title contender. Because like I said, if you defend to the level that the Warriors are defending at right now, you're a championship contender in any sport. I don't care what it is. And I'm not comparing him to the Ravens or some of the great defenses, but in the NFL, you can win with defense. In hockey, you got a great goaltender. He can lead you to a Stanley Cup. That's just the way it goes. You got a great pitching staff. They can lead you a long way. Even though I think the Mariners have the best starters, but I'm just saying as a whole pitching staff, you got a big time pitching staff, you can go far. Even if you're scoring 2 or 3 runs a game, the Giants have won World Series doing it. So there you go. Give me your thoughts on everything that you saw in game number 1. As Fozzie says here, great season, Houston, but we're bringing out the brooms here. Woo! Look at that. Our experience is too much for the Rockets. We'll see. I'm not ready to call this a sweep. I think there's a long way to go in this series. I still think it's 6 games. And Houston's going to make adjustments. We're going to be like, how did they do that? Because they've got players. As I said, their backcourt's not going 7 for 34 in game 2. Fred VanVleet is too good of a player. He's not going to do that. Jalen Green they're going to sit down Ime Udoka and the rest of the staff. He's a 21-point scorer. They're going to go, dude, this is what you can't do against this defense. This is what you can do. I think he got frustrated. I think he's young. So he'll bounce back. I believe that. It's not going to be like game 1 every single game. You know what the playoff series are about. But having said that, the Warriors are going to adjust too. And the majority of the points for the Rockets, well, not the majority, but a lot of points for the Rockets last night came off turnovers and second chance points. And if you're the Warriors, and Steve Kerr knows this, and I'm going to play a funny cut, like Steve Kerr didn't sit there. I told you this on Thursday. It's like that's all they're talking about right now. Offensive rebounding, offensive rebounding, offensive rebounding, offensive rebounding. Because they're confident that the Rockets aren't going to score enough points on their own. In fact, you know this, and then I'll hit some more comments. You know this. This series comes down to this. If the Warriors don't beat themselves, the Rockets can't beat them. That's what the end of the third quarter was all about. Steph hit that 3. It was 64-41 with 6:40 left in the third quarter, and the Warriors went, like, we got this. Now, I can do that, and you can do that. I did. I went, game's over. And then if the game wasn't over at that point, then Jimmy Butler hit the 3 and looked over at Reggie Miller on the next at Harlan. Like, I can shoot threes too. I can shoot them too, dude. I told you, and he pointed at Reggie Miller. And I said, okay, now the game's really over. But it wasn't. Because what the Warriors sometimes do, even if they're veterans, what is human nature in general, in or out of sports, is that people relax. So you're up by that amount. The crowd's not into it. And you're like, we got these guys. These guys are chumps. They're young. They're not coming back. We've already done it. And all of a sudden they're coming back. But they came back because the Warriors fell asleep. Turnovers, free throws, second chance points. And all of a sudden you're looking up and you're like, we're only up 4. It was 72-68 at one point. They got within 3 in the fourth quarter. And the Warriors are looking at themselves going, how did this happen? But in the past, I think with no Jimmy Butler there, I think they probably would have choked that game away. I think they would have coughed it up. But Jimmy Butler is the perfect complement to what Steph Curry is. Curry's hitting shots. Butler's inside. The one thing about Jimmy is, and he knows this, he got hit a bunch of times close to the rim last night in plays that would have been either 3-point plays or he'd have got to the line. It's not going to happen in the playoffs, and he knows it. So he doesn't complain and bitch and moan. He just gets back on defense. But, yeah, it's going to be a physical series. Those officials allowed him to play. But I'll reiterate this. In my mind, if the Warriors don't beat themselves, the Rockets cannot beat them. It's second chance points. That's self-inflicted. You can do something about that. It's turnovers. It's careless play. Those kind of things. It's not, you don't have to throw the home run pass every time. Draymond Green, right after a timeout and the Rockets were on a run, Draymond had this bounce pass inside that was low, and they turned it over, and I screamed at it. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, come on, dude. You're the veteran. Like, you just got out of a timeout. You can't make that pass. Like, settle down. Don't beat yourself. I don't think that the Warriors will lose to the Rockets unless they beat themselves. And they could. They've done it before. All right. What do we got here? What do we got? No, look, look, if you say sweep, I'm not doubting you. I think they could do it. I'm just saying, I think there's going to be adjustments, things we haven't seen. Ime Udoka is a really, really good head coach, and the Rockets are a talented team. The one thing I will take exception with is everybody keeps talking, second best record in the West, 52 wins. I got news for you. The times have changed in the NBA, but 52 wins is like, okay. I mean, that's solid. But 52 wins a number of years ago would get you like a 6 seed. I mean, 52 is good, and this is a good young basketball team. It's just, and they're going to give the Warriors a run. I mean, game 2 is desperation time. I'll say this too. If the Rockets don't win game 2, Fozzie, I'll say that you are going to be right. because they win. The Warriors know this. The Warriors win game 2 and they go 2-0 on the Rockets going home. Good night. I mean, I don't know that it's going to be a sweep, but good night. They're going to win. So that's what it comes down to. This is one thing we have not addressed yet. Hi, Aaron. I think we'll need Kaminga at some point soon, especially if a guy like Hield is not providing much offense as he's supposed to. You may just emphasize to Kaminga that his role is to play D. They have emphasized that. I know that for a fact. They have talked about to Kaminga, and that's one of the reasons he's not on the floor. Look, everyone loves the athleticism, and that matches up well against the Rockets. I did this in the pregame. Let me throw this up there. I kept this up there just for this exact reason. I talked about this in the pregame. I flashed this up during the postgame last night. This is during the regular season. So Jonathan Kaminga's 21.3 points per game against Houston this year, his highest scoring average against anybody. He scored a career high 33 points on December 5th against Houston. So while because of Jimmy Butler's redundancy, even though Butler's better, but he doesn't play well, the numbers say he doesn't play well with Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, and those guys are 40-plus minute guys in this series. I think Draymond was high 30s last night. Jimmy was over 40. Where does Kaminga play? And everybody, automatically, everybody's always hit me up with this. Well, he's better than Guy Santos. Well, he's better than Buddy Hield. Well, he's better than, whatever. And what I say to that is Guy Santos has a role, which is get on the floor, be a garbage man, be an energy guy. That's not Jonathan Kaminga, and that's the role that Santos plays, and that's a role that is open. So there you go. They're not changing Moses Moody out of the starting lineup because you're going to be superstitious. So he didn't play well last night. I don't know that the series matches up well for Moses Moody, although, like I said, they're going to provide so much attention to Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler that those shots, like that corner three that he hit late in the game, Moody, that was a big one, his only three make of the game, and he only had 7 points, but I'm not equating his impact on a game merely to points. He's got to defend. There's a lot of things he's got to do. He's got to get in there and rebound. He's not big and long, though. And at some point during the series, they may replace his minutes with somebody else. He's going to start, but they may replace his minutes with somebody else. I think, just like you do, that at some point Kaminga, because of the athleticism of Houston, has got to have a role at some point. Now, I'm not saying it's a regular role. I'm saying it might be game 2, and they need some energy, or they need something, or Moody's not playing well, or like you said, Hield or whatever. There might be a lineup fit for him. But I'm emphasizing, and you hit on this, and you're right, Steve Kerr has told Jonathan Kaminga, this is what we need from you. Can you provide it? We don't want you dominating the ball. We got scorers on the floor. We don't want you jacking threes. You've got to be a gritty player. And that's not something that you really equate to Jonathan Kaminga. It's the playoffs. Can you play gritty? Can you play dirty? Can you be a big-time rebounder? Can you use that athleticism and length to play defense? To, whether it's Jalen Green or Fred VanVleet, we may need you on somebody. We may have somebody in foul trouble. We may not have somebody playing well on a certain night. And I'm sorry, in the playoffs, you can't let them just play through it a lot of times, especially if this series gets close, which I think it's going to. So, yeah, I think he may have a role just because look at his numbers during the season against the Rockets. And that's the quandary that Steve Kerr finds himself in. Not yet, but may, which is, okay, his numbers with the star players on this team, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and you can just see the fit because he's not a three-point shooter, nor is Green, nor is Butler. So you look at it and you say, okay, there's not enough floor spacing. Kaminga really doesn't fit in this series. But he is an athlete, and he has played well against the Rockets. So those are the two things that you're putting against each other. And we know early in series you may not play a guy, and then all of a sudden, you know what? This guy may give us something, and Kaminga may surprise. And I said this in the postgame show, and it's very true. Kaminga's a young guy. His pride has been hurt. Is Kaminga going to hit the floor going, I'm going to show these guys, man, I'm pissed. That's what I would do. That's my personality. It's your personality. Like, look, hey, I'm going to show you. You don't think I can be a part of this series? You don't think I can be part of this rotation? I'll show you. Because not only am I showing you, Kaminga's getting traded in the offseason. So not am I showing you, I'm showing the other teams in the NBA that I'm a damn good player and I'm worth a lot of money because he's got a contract coming up. So he's got to come in with that attitude. He cannot come in with the attitude of, I'm pissed, I'm upset, I'm lethargic, because he could. But I think he's going to come in and say, look, I've got confidence. I played well against these guys. Jalen Green was in the same draft as me. I'm every damn bit as good as Jalen Green. I just haven't had the opportunity. Like I said, he's averaging 21 points per game against Houston, and on December 5th at a career-high 33. He's got confidence sitting on the bench that he can play against these athletes. So will he be a factor in the series? I just have a sneaking suspicion that he'll be on the floor, and then it's up to him of what kind of attitude he brings to the table. That's what I think on Kaminga. All right, what else? Good morning, John Joseph. It is great to see you. Let's see. Pine. Hello, Pine. I had a question for you last night, and I can't even remember what it was. Hi, Daryl. It's good to see you, my friend. Butler is just, I mean, what a game changer. Honestly, I've said this before, but I don't care. Give me a better in-season trade in Bay Area sports history than Jimmy Butler. Fred Dean. I mean, I'll give you Fred Dean. They won a Super Bowl, and if they don't have Fred Dean, they don't win that Super Bowl. But all right, Fred Dean. Now it's going to depend on how far the Warriors go. I understand that. You know, they get knocked out by the Rockets in the first round. It's a great trade, and we're all happy about it, but it didn't lend itself to a high level of winning or a championship. If the Warriors somehow were to pull off a championship this year, it would be the greatest trade in the history, in-season trade in the history of Bay Area sports. It's just an amazing trade. They are, I'm telling you, they're not in the playoffs at this point without Jimmy. We all know that. And I'm convinced that Steph Curry, who during the season was dropping all these massive hints, I don't want to be in a mediocre team. This is not fun for me being like 8, 9, and 10 every single year. I think Steph Curry would have said, look, I'm not playing for money. I got tons of that. I'm not playing for accolades. I got that. I'm already going down in history, in the NBA history books, as the greatest shooter of all time. What am I playing for? Playing to win. That's all I'm doing. And I'm not going to sit here, and Kobe Bryant did it at the end of his career, which is fine. You know, he played it out with the Lakers and decided, I'm going to be a one-team guy. And that's totally cool. But Steph Curry, I think, would have went to management and said, look, we'll make this as painless as we can, and it's going to be painful. But and I'll work with the organization, but I'm not going to be 8, 9, 10 playing guy the rest of my career. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm not just playing for money. So I think that would happen. But Jimmy Butler essentially saved the franchise and extended a window, because as you watch last night's game, offensive rebounding aside, they're the number one defensive team in the league right now, and they can score. They don't have size, and size gives them trouble. There's no doubt. So Minnesota's got size. Denver with Jokic scares me. There's no doubt about it. Oklahoma City is long and good, and they made Memphis look silly. And we'll get to the other NBA games in just a second. So look, it's a gauntlet in the West, and there's a lot of teams with size in the West. So that may be their undoing. The Clippers have size too and have showed it against the Warriors. So that may be their undoing at some point. I don't know that Houston has the experience. Şengün is absolutely great. And they're gonna bludgeon you on the boards with Steven Adams and all the different guys. Amen Thompson's a really good rebounder for his size. So they're gonna bludgeon the Warriors in that way. I think they still win the series. But then you're gonna have to do it again and again and again, depending on who you play. Because everybody, it seems like in the West, has some sides that are going to give the Warriors trouble. So maybe they don't. But Jimmy Butler has saved the season to this point. So there you go. Give me your thoughts on all of that. As far as the other series are concerned, let me pop this up for a second before we move on to the Giants and get your thoughts on the rest of this. Let me share my screen with you and give you a little bit of other games. Let's see. There's the box score. Where's the other things here? I really need to not do all of these things on my board. Here you go. Here's a bracket. You love the bracket. I love the bracket. We have not had the bracket up for what? 2 weeks, maybe? So just in the Western Conference, because whatever, East. The Thunder absolutely blow the doors off the Grizzlies. That's going to be a 4-0 sweep. And the Grizzlies, I think they're, with all the turmoil they've had and the lack of leadership with Ja Morant and all those kind of things, I think they're just lucky to be in the playoffs. The Thunder are going to sweep that series. The Nuggets get by the Clippers in overtime for all the ripping of Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook really won that game against the Clippers. I think the Clippers still come back and make that a series. That feels like a 7-game series to me between the Nuggets and the Clippers. I told you I thought that the Timberwolves were not a good matchup for the Lakers. Series is not over, but I mean, they blew the doors off Minnesota, and LeBron should be embarrassed the way that he acted at the end of that game where he was crying for a foul and he was hitting the court and all that kind of stuff. It's like, bro, come on, man. You're better than that. You're supposed to be one of the greatest of all time, and you are. But stop it. They were down like 20 at that point, too, with like 5 minutes left in the game. It's like, first of all, I shouldn't have been on the court, but whatever. But that's going to be a tough matchup for the Lakers. I still expect the Lakers. That looks like a 7-game series to me, too. Rockets Warriors, we've talked about all morning long. And then Cavaliers Heat. Cavs are going to win that series going away. Surprised. I guess I was surprised, even though the Pacers are the 4 seed there, that they beat the Bucks. I just thought Giannis would find a way. Pistons really played well against the Knicks, except for a major big stretch in which the Knicks pulled that off. Celtics are easily going to beat the Magic over in the East as well. So really, the only surprise, I think, so far in the first round, I was not surprised by the Warriors win, and you probably weren't either, was the Timberwolves of the Lakers probably surprised some people. Close series between the Nuggets and the Clippers, no doubt, in the West. If I had to make a prediction right now, Thunder 4-0. Boy, Nuggets Clippers is a tough one. I think the Clippers are going to pull that series off. I think the Clippers are going to pull it off 4-3. That means they'd have to win in Denver, but I think they will. I think the Timberwolves are going to beat the Lakers. That's going to be a 7-game series. It's going to be a really tough series, but Anthony Edwards has been playing so well. And by the way, the McDaniel was the one. Jay McDaniels had, 25 in that game, so he's not going to do that every night, but he was really, really good. And I expect the Warriors and Rockets to go 6. So that's what the rest of the series look like. And Oklahoma City did look scary, but and that would be a tough team to beat. They're really, really good. And Memphis, my God, man, they got just blown out in that whole thing. So anyway, there's that. All right. Any more thoughts on Warriors as they don't play till Wednesday? So that'll give us time to get a lot of draft talk in there and all that kind of stuff. But let's see. Anything else? That's a great question. Hi, Kyle. You think Green would try if they win another title? Probably not. I think that he really I think everybody is reinvigorated by Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy has 2 more years left on his contract after this one, which is why they're trading Kaminga. Because if Kaminga doesn't fit with Jimmy Butler right now, and he doesn't fit with Steph Curry, that's a problem, and doesn't fit with Draymond Green, because that's what the numbers say, those guys are going to be around, and Jimmy Butler, after this season, just signed on for 2 more. So where does that leave Kaminga? I think it leaves Kaminga as bait to get a 2-way player, a stretch big that can also defend and rebound, because that's where they're short. If they don't win this year, the Warriors, and I don't think they're going to win a championship because of the size in the Western Conference, if they don't win, it's going to be because they lacked size. And they lacked look, Draymond Green's a defensive player of the year candidate. He's one of the final 3. There's no debate how good he is defensively, but size gives him trouble, and it makes him, he's tired. Like Steve Kerr said already, he's tired by the end of this thing. And I don't know that he can grind it out throughout the playoffs at his size, playing at 6'6", playing, against guys like Jokic and Şengün and what the T-Wolves can throw at you, and maybe the Clippers can throw at you. And it's really hard for him at 6'6" to do that and be the lone big, especially when, even though I think Looney's going to be a part of this series because of the rebounding, it's hard to put him on the floor and Green and Butler, because none of the 3 are really proficient 3-point shooters. So now it puts a ton of pressure on the guys who are on the floor, which is generally Curry. And then you can't play GP against that lineup. And by the way, I didn't mention him. GP2 was great in spurts last night. Really good defensively, and hit a big 3 early too. So anyway, we'll see. But yeah, I think he's going to be bait for a stretch big that can play on both ends of the floor, I think. All right, let me play a couple of more things before. So I played Steve Kerr before the game. This is hilarious, and I like Tim Kawakami and everything, but sometimes coaches must, in all sports, must just be like, what do you think I do here? This is pretty funny post-game. I've been in hundreds and hundreds and thousands of those pressers and everything, and sometimes, man, the question doesn't come out exactly like you want it to come out, and it's like, did you remind them? It's like, what do you think he does? Hey, you know what? Offensive rebounding. I mean, you know how much time they dedicated to offensive rebounding and how good Houston is on the glass? I mean, if I know it, and I was pounding the table on it, and I did the pregame on it, and I did a piece last week on it, and I talked about it on Wednesday show, Thursday show, Friday show, I did a pre-piece yesterday at johnlundunleashed.com. Offensive rebound, offensive rebound, offensive rebound. It's their whole identity. You don't think Steve Kerr told them that? It's unbelievable. I love Steve, man. After the game, he's like, really? Now he would have been joking like that if they had lost. Now, this is the other part that I said. This is Jimmy Butler talking to Allie LaForce right after the game, and this was the thing I talked about with Jimmy Butler and the rest. This cannot be over-discussed, because I think this is why they're going to win the series, is that they had 4 days from Tuesday to Sunday, and then they're going to get from yesterday to Wednesday, and you don't play any back-to-backs or anything like that. They're going to be fully rested. Steve mentioned it before the game, especially when it comes to Draymond Green. Here's Jimmy Butler after the game discussing it more.
Dre is like 35, but we got some young guns that also get it done as well. Stayed in it, gave up a little run, but in the end we won.
18 of your last 24 games to end the regular season were on the road. Then you had to go through the play-on, but you had 2 days off and then 2 days of film. What was the biggest reset that played a role here?
Just rest, honestly. Getting some rest, clear minds, knowing that we got one job to do, come in here, compete, and try to steal one on the road.
Yeah, see, it cannot be overemphasized, this whole thing, and the way that this is laid out for the Warriors. If I was the Rockets or a Rockets fan, I'd be pissed because it's an older team and you don't have the back-to-backs. And this is why I discuss it all the time. And I know that ad nauseum are like, Lund, I know what you're going to say. Don't you dare say it. It's 82 versus 16. 82, you're playing back-to-backs. 82, you're playing 3 games in 5 nights. There are built-in losses in an 82-game season. There are not built-in losses in the playoffs. It's the way you play. It's who executes. It's all those things. It's not about being tired. Everyone should generally be fresh. And so now you get from Tuesday to Sunday, and you saw what it meant last night to the Warriors. You get from Sunday to Wednesday now, what it could mean for the Warriors and what it should mean for the Warriors. It doesn't mean they're going to win game 2, but what it means is 35-year-old Jimmy Butler, 37-year-old Steph Curry, Draymond Green, all these older guys in this experience. And I was questioning it last night, but not from a rest standpoint. So rest is one thing, massive factor in this series. But the other side of this whole thing was, and we've seen it, and you and I have talked about it a lot, which is coming down the stretch with the Warriors, how were they going to react? Like last night, when Houston went on that big stretch and they got the offensive rebound and the place is rocking and rolling, you go from being 23 up to being 4 up. And I'm thinking, okay, who's going to do this? Who's going to close? And the Warriors, a lot of times you scratch your head and you go, why aren't they closing? Well, with Jimmy Butler, it makes such a massive difference. And I also want to emphasize the fact that while I don't think guys like Pajemski had a good night because look at the rebounds and all the different things he did, but a guy like Moses Moody, for example, you're keeping him in the starting lineup no matter what. I think at points he was overmatched. At points maybe he needed a game to adjust. He scored 7, but it was a big corner 3 late in that game. That's what those guys have to do. Steph Curry's going to do what he's going to do. They're going to try some more adjustments on him. This whole physical thing, this is why Steph getting bigger and stronger and the way that he works out. And Papa and I used to have his trainer on all the time. The way that it just, everybody's tried everything against Steph Curry. That's why, again, you look at the all-time greats and the adjustments he's made in his career and his life. In the playoffs, it was always about how teams are going to out-physical him. And he just doesn't have a weakness. He just doesn't. If you're gonna double on him, he gets through the cracks, and he's such a great ball handler that he's getting easy hoops that way. He's not going to just force up 3-point shots if you're going to give him those things. He is better defensively. He handles the ball so well. He just, his 3-point shots, not only the ones, and he hardly got anything to look at as far as open looks last night, but just the degree of difficulty, as I said before, the type of shots he hits, he's really difficult. I know he went 1 for 10 on April 6th, and that's a possibility. And Houston is a really good defensive team, but Steph Curry just finds a way. And then you add Jimmy Butler to this whole thing, they're going to score. And I keep emphasizing the defense. It's going to be tough to beat the Warriors. Now, as you said, they're 1 game up on this whole thing, so you've got to beat them 4 out of 6. You're Houston right now. You got to beat the Warriors 4 out of 6. Think about that. You beat the Warriors 4 out of 6? Doubt it. Here is a little Steph Curry afterwards. He was on with the guys post-game on TNT with Shaq and Charles. And here he is. Shaq obviously asked him about the last time the two got together. And then he also talks about the Robin to his Batman off of Charles Barkley kind of fumbling question. Here you go. I'm going to do something here. I'm going to talk about what Steph said, but look at Steph's physique. I mean, he's 6'3", which that'd be a big corner in the NFL. And you just from where he was to where he is now, he's got big shoulders, pretty big arms right there. You can see Steph Curry's a big dude, and he just gets lost because the NBA is so big. And I remember when I covered the league for years and years and years, and you'd start seeing these guys who weren't even big guys close up. Like, that's a big dude. Steph Curry is like 6'3", maybe 190 pounds, pretty built. I mean, that's what I mean, is that Houston tries to throw physicality at him, and it's like, okay, I have all these different ways that I can beat you. I've seen every defense you can throw at me, and it's playoff time, and that's what he emphasizes. And in that last part, it was kind of a fumbling question by Barkley, but as you can see the respect that Steph Curry has for Jimmy Butler, you can see the energy he brings the entire team. And the one thing that I underemphasized, or that I didn't know as much about Jimmy, his passing last night, 6 assists. He's a great passer. You try to double Jimmy Butler, he's going to burn you. Draymond Green's like that. Steph Curry's like that. They just have a bunch of high basketball IQ guys. And then the other thing that Jimmy Butler does is he elevates the play of everybody around him, but he doesn't have to do it in a demonstrative way. And I think that this is teaching Draymond Green something. Draymond Green for years said that he had to play a certain way with a certain amount of emotion. And you're watching the games, and he'll go after an official if he really doesn't like a call. Steve Kerr had to go out to the court one time, and they called a timeout, I think specifically to cool Draymond Green down late in the game. But generally speaking, I think you can always learn something from somebody. And Jimmy Butler is a hell of a competitor, just like Steph Curry is. But he doesn't get out of control, and he doesn't bark at officials a lot, and he doesn't scream, and he doesn't do all those kind of things. I think Draymond Green, as he's getting older, is seeing that, look, Jimmy Butler plays with as much intensity as anybody. Jimmy Butler holds teammates accountable as much as anybody. But he doesn't do it in a way that's yelling and screaming. And you can see in that post-game interview that I played for you, he's kind of I don't know, he seems like and I don't know him personally. I've interviewed him a couple of times, but in terms of he just seems kind of a laid-back dude, lives in Southern California. I don't know if you've seen his house. It was on Cribs or one of those things. I mean, the house is unbelievable. But he's like kind of a chill guy. But then he gets on the court, and he does have a certain way about him in that he holds others accountable, and he makes you better, and he elevates play, but he doesn't have to scream and yell at everybody. He doesn't have to be demonstrative. He doesn't scream at officials a whole lot. He plays basketball. He got hit a bunch of times inside last night. And he could be LeBron James and do this with the shoulder shrug and everything, but that takes you out of your game, even for that split second that it takes for the other team to beat you on a fast break down the floor and get an easy deuce. He doesn't do that because he understands that, like, I got to stay in the game mentally. And maybe Draymond Green's learning something because that was a charged game last night. It was a playoff game. It was massive. And Draymond Green, for the most part, stayed well within himself. And I thought that was huge. I have a feeling that Dillon Brooks at some point is going to try to charge him up. I thought before game one he would. And then Dillon Brooks said that, what, I'm a mellower Dillon Brooks. And I'm like, well, then, dude, what are you adding? What are you bringing to the table? Not much. So do I have anything else? I think I played everything for you from that standpoint. All right, more thoughts on the Warriors last night. Again, big game one win. Still think it's going to be a long series. Give me your thoughts on it. By the way, you can always hit me up. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. John Lund Unleashed on the Bay Area Sports Collective on YouTube as well. And I'm always on X. So at John Lund Radio, you can hit me up there as well on X. Questions, comments, thoughts on the Warriors. We've gone about an hour, about 59 minutes on the Warriors. I think that's good enough because we got a lot of other things we got to get to. Let me check in real quick. Our ladies and gentlemen on, lots of good people hanging out on the on Instagram as well. Very cool. All right. Anything else? And then I'm going to move on to, we've already done, here's where we are, by the way, on the chalkboard. Episode 121. Warriors win at 95-85. Butler and Curry combined for 56 of the 95 as I'm going down the chalkboard. Şengün, the only consistent offensive performer, and he was great last night. He had 26, but didn't get much help. The backcourt for Houston last night, Green and Van Fleet, were 7 of 34. Second chance points are going to be a problem throughout the series. That's what Houston does. Even Steven Adams, the big Kiwi, comes off the bench, grabs a bunch of rebounds. They got to be cognizant of that. 22-12. Warriors showed that veteran guile last night, 11-2 on the last run. Butler, they're now 25-7, 15-4 on the road with him. We went through other NBA series, the one in particular, the Lakers and the Wolves. The Wolves up 1-0 in that one. And that's where we are as far as the show is concerned. All right, let's get to a little bit of baseball stuff last night real quick. Hi, Jess, man. Yeah, I think Draymond's learning something. I don't know if anybody's ever asked him that, but you can just tell, and he just seems a little bit more chill. And that happens when you get older as well. Why am I screaming? Why am I yelling? He can still play. He can still play the way that he plays. He can still play with emotion without berating officials constantly, because that splits your focus to what you should be doing. And I don't care if you're a great player and Draymond Green's a Hall of Famer. He's a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. I have nothing negative to say about Draymond Green. It's just like, dude, what's the point? I always think that. Like, officials aren't going to change their call, and they're human beings. And the thing about officials is that it's human nature to say, if someone's berating me and screaming at me and F-bombing me and telling me I suck and I'm bad at my job or whatever, or calling me out, you think I'm going to give them a call the next time it's close? Just a thought. Versus if you show them some respect, could you possibly get a call? Maybe. Because I do know this, that when Steph Curry gets pissed about a call, the official probably knows in his head that he or she missed it. Like, Steph Curry's really pissed. I probably missed that call. Whereas Draymond Green, it's constantly, right? It's constant. And it's like, dude, seriously, stop. You're not changing things. And in fact, you're not helping each other, right? You're just not. All right, let's get to the Giants side of things. Last night, over the weekend, and I complained. I said, man, the starting pitching has got to be better. The starting pitching's got to be better. All right, well, Logan Webb loses 2-0 on Friday. It's like, bro, could you give me a couple of runs? And we did bottom of the pint. By the way, there you go. If Dom is still here, fine logo, by the way. Bottom of the pint, every Giants Friday game. So day, night, whatever. I'm on the Krug show, him and I together, and we just drink beers, talk Giants baseball, and it's a good time. And it's during the Giants game on Friday. So it's not a pregame, it's not a postgame. It's during the game, bottom of the pint, with the Krug show and John Lund Unleashed. So make sure that you watch, won't you? Grab yourself a beverage, something to eat, and hang out with us on a Friday. But I was talking about the rotation, and I was saying, look, relievers are good. Defense is good. Offense has been great. You got to get the starting pitching going. Friday, they lose 2-0. And Logan Webb's like, huh? By the way, Logan Webb is in the Sweet Clean Family Friendly Caboose Pistol today. Then Landon Roop does this. 7 innings pitched on Saturday, 5 hits, 2 earned, a base on ball, and 9 strikeouts. So I'm not necessarily putting in the hypothetical in the fake bank, but he's getting close. He's getting close, and that's your number 5 starter. So very, very nice by Landon Roop. And then Justin Verlander. Did I put that Verlander in? I didn't. Oh, my God. That's on me. Verlander pitched a tremendous game yesterday, and Ryan Walker gave it up, and that's going to happen. I'm not down on the bullpen. I'm not down on Ryan Walker. The Giants have the Brewers coming into town, and this is a 4-game set, and it's a really important one because, you know what, they lose the series against the Angels. I'm not saying they're reeling. They're 14-8, but you got to stay on pace in the NL West, so becomes a really huge series. And let me just show you the starters in this series coming up against Milwaukee. So Robbie Ray, huge start tonight. Huge, for as huge of a start can be, because 19 and 3rd innings, 15 walks. I'm sure he's been working on some stuff on his off days as he's preparing for these things. So Robbie Ray got to get it under control. Jordan Hicks was not good last time out. So these are 2 bounce back opportunities in the next 2 nights for the Giants against the Brew Crew. Freddie Peralta was really good his last time out. And there's Logan Webb, who pitched tremendous against the Angels. And you're going to see later on in the Caboose Pistol. And then Landon Roop again. That's awesome that you did that. Now follow it up, Landon Roop. So 4 starters. Ray and Hicks need a bounce back. Webb is Webb. I'm not going to worry about that at all. He is in the bank. And Landon Roop looks really, really good. So that's your next 4 starters. So on cue, the starter said, okay, Lund, you're crying, you're complaining, you're bitching, you're moaning. Here you go. We're going to start. Our starter's going to be great, but they still lose 2 of 3 to the Angels over the weekend because, as I told you, and let me pop some stats up for the Giants so far, because I like doing this every Monday to just kind of show you what's going on here. Let me look at the probable pitchers we already did. Here we go, right here. So on the season, as you look at the starting pitching, Logan Webb is awesome. Justin Verlander now 5 starts, pitched great last time out. Jordan Hicks needs a bounce back. Roop looks amazing. Robbie Ray's got to get the walks under control. Still not worried about the pen. I realize Walker has a 5.40 ERA. He's fine. Tyler Rogers has been great. For the most part, Rodriguez, great. Duvall is a roller coaster ride, but that's decent. Eric Miller, still very, very good. I love Hayden Birdsong. He's waiting in the wings. Trevino makes me nervous. Bivens makes me nervous, but that's still a really good bullpen. And then offensively, as we talked about, look, Wilmer Flores is now hitting 203, still with the 23 RBIs. You knew he wasn't going to do this forever. Mike Yastrzemski didn't have a great series against the Angels with the bat. Knew it wasn't going to last forever. Jung Hoo, those were the 3 guys that were carrying the team, Lee, Yastrzemski, and Flores. And you got to start getting some stuff. Now, you're starting to see Chapman hit 4 home runs, 14 RBIs, 21 walks for Matt Chapman, which leads to an 846 OPS. So he's doing his job. We're still waiting on Adames, but we're okay. It's still April. Tyler Fitzgerald is coming around. What would you say you do here with an 091? Now, David Villar played yesterday. Casey Schmidt's on the injured list. I understand that they are short at first base, and Bob Melvin is going to give veterans a chance to get out of things, but he's 5 for 55. He's had 66 plate appearances and walks, but he's 5 for 55 on the season with 20 strikeouts. They got to do something. You just cannot continue to play him. I know he's a veteran. I know Bob Melvin likes his veterans. I get what he's supposed to do, but it's not only that he's hitting now 091, but the at-bats are generally not competitive. I love Matos. He's not getting enough consistent at-bats. What's funny about Sam Huff was, and I was thinking about this yesterday because I do the same thing, our good friend, Sons of Johnny LeMaster, jumped on. I was like, they need a backup catcher, and then Huff hits a home run. And I do that. That happens to me all the time. Schmidt is on the injured list. Koss does nothing for me. VR, I've always thought was a 4A player, even though I really like the guy. We've interviewed him a ton of times and a great guy. I hope that he can give them a little bit of juice so they don't have to play Wade. As a matter of fact, I think Wade, like I said, needs to go on the injured list. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And they need to figure out his swing because it's not only that, it's just non-competitive at bats. And you can't have those again and again and again. So Giants pitching, way to go. Now let's put it all together. Giants starters, relievers, defense, hitting. And I think I still think, regardless, it's early in the season. You only make your first real assessment on a baseball team 40 games into the season, 25% through the season. So we're 22 games into the season. So we still got a ways before we're going to do that. But they're looking good. They're doing a lot of good things. Landon Root looks good. Verlander's stuff looked really, really good. Robbie Ray, I do believe tonight's a big start for him. And Robbie Ray, I think, gets it back on track tonight. So let's see what the starting pitching can continue to do. But I still have confidence in this team, despite the fact that they just lost 2 of 3 to the Angels. All right, let's see. Walker blows one. That's what we did on the baseball front. It's draft week, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, and I cannot believe we are an hour, 7 minutes into the John Lund Unleashed extravaganza, which you should be please subscribing on YouTube. If you're watching over on X at John Lund Radio, migrate over and say hello to us and hang out in the chat room, or just come over, subscribe, John Lund Unleashed, and on the Bay Area Sports Collective. We appreciate you hanging out wherever you're watching today. But if you come over to YouTube and say hello, that would be great. Please get those alerts on and give us a like. That would be amazing. But it is draft week. I am a draft dork. We will have full coverage on this channel, John Lund Unleashed, on Thursday. I've done tons and tons of live shows from 49ers HQ, so I'll miss out on that. But that means that you and I can hang out on Thursday, which I enjoy more anyway. So here is the latest from Adam Schefter. And now this is really interesting. So this is this morning on Insider. Don't tell anybody I showed you this. This is on Insider. And so at the top of that page there, you may not be able to read it, but he says the list is, and this is teams that want to trade back, according to Schefter, Jags at 5, Panthers at 8, Niners at 11, Falcons at 15, Seahawks at 18, Bucks at 19, blah, 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 Vikings. Unfortunately, you need a dance partner. You cannot dance alone. You cannot trade alone. Well, you can dance alone. I've danced alone many, many times. You cannot trade alone. You can dance alone. I take it back. You can dance alone. People will stare at you, but you can dance alone. You cannot trade alone. Niners, would you like to trade? Yes, I would. Niners, who would you like to trade for? Niners, I don't know. You have to have somebody else. So I've heard this the entire draft process, that the player you're getting 11 might be the same player you're getting at 16. If you could pick up an extra pick, that would be great. I've seen some ridiculous mock drafts that have the Niners with like 17 or 18 picks. That's not going to happen. But could they have 13 guys on this roster? They've got 11 picks right now. Could they have 12, 13, 14? Yeah, they could. They have enough needs for that. So the Niners want to trade down. That's not a secret. That's part of the draft process. But here's what's interesting to me. That first group of players that I have red marked, that group of players are young players. The second group of players, Jalen Ramsey, Jair Alexander, Kirk Cousins, Dallas Goedert, those are guys that are big money guys that either want to be traded or are disgruntled. And so I don't see the Niners involved in any of those guys. But where the Niners could get involved is taking a flyer on a young player before their contract blows up. And mostly you see edge players there. So Will Levis, no interest. Trayvon Burks, remember, he was the guy that was the Eagles traded that pick to the Titans, and they got A.J. Brown for that, and Burks has been terrible. He's a big guy, like 6'3", 225 out of Arkansas. He wasn't a finished product, has not been good. So I don't really, and he doesn't make any money yet. I don't have any interest there. But Kayvon Thibodeau is a guy from the West Coast who played at Oregon. Last year had 5.5 sacks, but the year before had 11.5 sacks. Again, would need to get paid in time, but for me, you want to take a flyer on him? You give up like a third or a fourth round pick for Thibodeau? Yes, please. Opposite Bosa, because this is the kind of thing we've talked about, the strategy for John Lynch and the 49ers in general, and it's all draft. But if there's disgruntled players that you can get before they get their big money so that you can get a look at them in a position of need, that's a winner for me. So Thibodeau, yeah, he would need to get paid at some point, but you get a free look this year at Thibodeau, and if you don't have to give up too much, and he plays opposite Bosa, he's about 6'5", 260, perfect size for an edge guy. And if properly motivated, and they have Chris Kaserik to do that, the defensive line coach of the 49ers, Thibodeau is a massive talent, just a massive talent. Don't have a lot of interest in Evan Neal, even though he was a top, I think it was like a 6th or 7th pick by the Giants, offensive tackle. He's just been okay. And if there are rumors that they want to get rid of him, then obviously there's an issue. I'm not an Evan Neal guy. Came in at Alabama, and a lot of people thought he was going to be because they already have Thomas there with the Giants, that they were going to be great bookend tackles. He just hasn't been that. I don't have interest in that. Jalen Hyatt's an interesting guy. He was a 3rd-round pick out of Tennessee, was really productive in college, super fast. What are the Niners looking for? They're looking for a speed element to their offense. Jennings doesn't give you that. Pearsall's like a 4.4 guy. I'm not saying he's slow. He's not. But he's not really what you think as a burner. He's more of a route runner. And then they added Demarcus Robinson. He's not a burner. So Jalen Hyatt, he was a 3rd-round pick out of Tennessee. I can't believe that you would have to give up anything more than like a conditional pick, a 6, a 7, whatever, to get Jalen, because he hasn't had a lot of production. Last year he wasn't good at all. The year before he was okay. But again, a guy that the Giants probably aren't going to pay long-term. I would absolutely take a look at him if I could do it for a late-round pick or a pick swap, maybe something like that. Might even be like a round swap where you didn't have to give up anything. The Giants move up and around, you move back, something like that. Tyree Wilson of the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders would trade with the Niners because Mark Davis is just that way. But he has 8 career sacks. But when he came out, he had been injured. He had an injury going into his rookie season, and he never really recovered from it. And he just hasn't been good for the Raiders. But this is a guy that's like 6'6", 280, is really super long, has a long reach. I mean, he's just got all those elements to him. Could be one of those guys that, if properly motivated, could play inside, outside. Again, I think it was the 7th overall pick a couple of years ago. Just hasn't done it with the Raiders. And if they want to get rid of him, I'm the Niners. I make that call. And he's going to have to get paid at some point. But he's the type of guy, again, I look at Chris Kucerik and I say, Thibodeau, tons of potential, and has reached it at points in his career. Tyree Wilson, he's got all the elements of his game. Hasn't reached it yet. I understand that. But he's got all the elements in his game, properly motivated. Would be a guy that I would look at. Newsome, people have talked about. He's had a lot of injuries with the Browns. NTN, I don't have a lot of interest in him. Pickens is a total head case. Don't want anything to do with him. Rachaad White is an interesting guy. He went to Arizona State. He's a nice back, but again, how much are you going to have to pay for that guy? I don't think you'd have to give up much, and they do need a backup running back now that they've gotten rid of Mason. But if you bring in a guy like White, who's a great receiver out of the backfield, by the way, catches a lot of passes. So now that I think about it, maybe that's not a bad idea. And then who else we got down there? Oh, Boutte, the guy from the Patriots. You know, he came at LSU, and he was a really highly touted guy. Not a speed guy, might be somebody you'd be interested in. But the guys that I have marked right there, and the edge guy, Odafe Owe of the Ravens, he's been in the league 4 years. He has 3 double-digit sack years. I don't know the situation there. It sounds to me is that if he's on the list, this is a situation in which the Ravens just don't want to pay him. And I don't know that the Niners, given their situation financially, would pay him. But the guy's legit. I mean, absolute legit player. And I'd look into him too. Of those guys on that list, as you can tell, there's 3 defensive linemen and a receiver. I think that Hyatt could be had for a pick swap. I think Wilson wouldn't cost you much at all. You'd pay him at some point. The Ravens edge Owe, he's a guy that would get paid. So I don't know if the Niners would be interested in that. And Thibodeau, if they're going to give away Thibodeau for, again, maybe a mid to late rounder, I'd take him every day, all day, every day. Now, what that could depend on is, here are the Giants sitting at 3. So with Ward going 1, Cam Ward's going to go 1 to Tennessee. What's going to happen at 2 with the Browns? Are they going to take Travis Hunter? Because if they take Travis Hunter, and then the Giants, who a lot of people think are going to take a quarterback, but if they don't like any of the quarterbacks and they just take the best player, which is Abdul Carter, then Abdul Carter is on the edge. You've already got an edge opposite him in Brian Burns. Then Thibodeau becomes a guy that you're going to trade during the draft. And would the Niners go, yeah, why not? He's not getting paid yet. And at some point he is going to get paid. But anyway, I like Thibodeau. I think that he working with Chris Kucerik would be massive. So that is the latest as far as Adam Schefter is concerned. And the reason I put that up there, by the way, and then mark those specific guys, is because it's not all going to get done through the draft. We know this. You're not going to have every guy hit, and they need, and I've said this before, they need like an 86 draft that they had, which is their best of all time. They need like 6 or 8 starters out of this draft, and it's not going to happen. So if you can combine what you can get in the draft with maybe using a pick or a pick swap to get some of those guys that I've highlighted, and I'm not saying multiple guys, I'm saying like one. Let's say they could get a Thibodeau, for example, or they could pick swap for a Hyatt who's got the speed, which they lack in the receiving core right now. That would be absolutely huge. You combine that with the draft with guys who, in Thibodeau's case, not last year, but the year before, had 11.5 sacks and can play against the run when properly motivated. I think that might be the way to go for the 49ers. And again, just to go to the top of that page, if you missed it, Adam Schefter reporting that those teams near the top would like to trade down. Who wouldn't? I don't think this is a draft. A lot of times we want to trade up. Now, there could be a team who's sitting in wait and somebody drops, like let's say a Tyler Warren, for example, and you're the Colts, who a lot of people have said that they might take a tight end at like 14. So let's say the Colts are sitting there and at 11, Tyler Warren is still on the board and they think maybe somebody may jump ahead of them. I could see the Colts saying, hey, we'll give you this and this. And the Niners say, okay. So your ability to trade down is fully dependent a lot of times on who's available. Let's say Shedeur Sanders for some weird reason drops. I think his floor is New Orleans at 9. But let's say for some weird reason that, Sanders is still on the board at 11 and somebody likes Shedeur Sanders or likes a certain receiver or, an offensive lineman is going to drop or something like that. Yeah, you can see somebody coming up to get somebody, and that's the only way you can move back. But as we sit here right now, it's not like a bunch of teams are clamoring to get up to where the 49ers are. So there's Schefter's draft rumblings. And just to do this, because I've done this about 5 times already, that shows you where the desperation parts are. Look at that defensive line. You got Bosa. These are PFF grades. You got Bosa with a 91, which is nice. And then think of it like school grades, 49.6, 47.6, and Jackson doesn't even have a grade. That's a problem. Same with the linebacking core. You got Fred Warner there. Great. The other two, not so much. So Lenore is better than what that number says. I think Green is going to have a good year. A lot of people have projected a corner to the Niners. It could happen. Will Johnson, who, as I said last week, won't run a 40, so that makes me nervous. But you took Renardo Green in the second round, and at some point you got to say, you know what? With all the things that you're doing and to purge, you draft guy in the second round, and he showed promise like he did last year. He's got to play. And I don't know that I would take a first-round flyer on a guy like Will Johnson. There's I'm not sure whose draft that is. But anyway, I think it's some on NFL.com. But I'm not a fan of taking Will Johnson. He won't run a 40, which tells me, if you run a 4.5 40, you're Will Johnson out of Michigan, you run a 4.5 40, you can still get picked at 11. That makes me think that he's going to run a 4.6 40, and I have no interest in that. None. So that's the latest as far as the draft goes. Draft-wise, we'll ramp it up because Thursday is the draft. So we'll ramp it up a little bit tomorrow as the Warriors will take a break till Wednesday. So we'll ramp it up tomorrow. We'll ramp it up Wednesday. I'll put my final, if you care, mock draft. And not only a mock draft, I'm going to do it a little bit different, put some other guys. So for each pick of the 49ers, I'll put a few guys up there, not just one guy. I'm going to do kind of a mock-ish, but I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit, put my top 3 possibilities at each pick is what I'm going to do. And so that's totally cheating, but I think it's going to be more insightful. So we'll see what we can do there. So I'll do that on Wednesday at johnlundunleashed.com, and we'll do more draft talk today. Obviously, majority about the Warriors and the win over the Rockets. So there you go. If you're just joining the show, by the way, on John Lund Unleashed, we spent the first hour of the show talking about the Warriors. So you got 2 things you could do. You could either go back to the beginning of the show, which is totally fine, or I will post later on YouTube, John Lund Unleashed, the chapters of the show, and then you can click on whatever you want to talk about or whatever you want to hear. And we do that for every show. So if you're like, I don't want to hear about the Warriors, or I don't want to hear about the Giants, or hey, I just want to hear draft, or whatever, then you can just click on those chapters and you can hear or watch whatever you want. We're obviously on your favorite podcast places as well, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, in addition to YouTube and other places, other platforms you can check out the show. All right, Wednesday final Mac, I told you, or mock Mac, final mock. Let me do this. Did you hear this story? So A.J. Brown of the Eagles had his car stolen overnight right in front of his house. Here is A.J. Brown talking about it. He said, look, just bring the car back. No questions asked. Here you go.
Come on, man. He stole my whip last night. Come on, man. I'll make a deal with you, bro. To whoever you are, which I'm going to find out soon. I'll make a deal with you, bro. Just bring the whip back, bro. I won't press charges, bro. Just bring the whip back, bro. And you can go on about your day. But if I find you, come on, bro. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. And I'm gonna come in there in the interrogation room. I might see about you, my boy. Like, I'm on that. But just bring the whip back, bro. You smooth with it, though. You pulled up at 342. You got up out of there at 345. You fast on your feet. Real fast. I'm gonna show you how fast I am on my feet. Yeah. Real talk. Like, this finna get done today. Like, bro, so you might as well pull back up, bro. Drop that off, bro. We know where you at right now. Right now. Like, pull back up, bro.
First of all, there's nobody cooler than A.J. Brown. And if I had his car, I would probably bring it right back. Now, do I believe that A.J. Brown, if somebody just pulls up in his driveway with that car and then, gets in another car and drives off, do I think that A.J. Brown's telling the truth about not pressing charges or coming after the guy? I don't know about that. But now with the technology of the cars, like I said, my car, I know where my car is 24/7. I know, so he knows where the car is. He's got it tracked, I'm sure, unless they took some trackers off. But he said he knows where the car is. So I don't know why he just doesn't go get it. I don't know, and we're not him, like the cops. Like the car's tracked. I know what it is. My car's just a big computer, so just like I'm sure he's just like, here's my car. So anyway, I don't know if I'd stolen AJ Brown's car, I'd probably just take it back. I'd probably wait till night, but I'd probably take it back. But anyway, yeah, that was a pretty convincing video to me. AJ Brown has his car stolen in Philadelphia. Unbelievable. And then they know it's him. Like, let's go to his house and steal his car. I don't know. All right, so there's that. We've done random things. Before I do the Sweet Clean Family Friendly Caboose Pistol, let me go out and check on everybody. See everybody's good. What everybody's talking about. Let's see. What else do we got? Let's see. Hi, Scott. I see the 49ers keep in 11 and then trade back with second round pick. I think it just depends on who's on, because here's the way the draft works. The Niners will sit there at 11 and say, you know what, we'd be happy with like any 3 or 4 guys here. Then you trade back, but somebody's got to be willing to trade up. So the way that it works is there's a team that says, oh my God, that, wide receiver I liked or whatever, or Shadur or Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren is the type of guy that you would trade up for. A quarterback is always a guy that you trade up for. Look, if there's a certain guy, Mason Graham's on the board, and you never thought he was going to be there, you probably keep the pick in that case, but maybe you don't love him if you're the Niners. I don't know what their draft board looks like. And then, so if you get a slider, then yeah, all of a sudden, the Niners move up. Now, having said that, let's say just for the sake of conversation, just like it's happened before, Abdul Carter, there's something said about him right before the draft. Laramie Tunsil kind of a situation. All of a sudden, he drops to 9 or 10, and you're the Niners. You might go up and get him. So I understand what Adam Schefter's saying, but you don't know how the draft's going to go. So there might be a guy that the Niners absolutely love, never thought would be there. The Bears are on the clock at 10, or the Saints are on the clock at 9, or the Carolinas on the clock at 8, and all of a sudden you're like, we want that guy. So I'm not saying they want to trade up, but you just never know. And then when it comes to 11, if there are 2-3 players they like on the board, they're going to move down if they can. But if there's an absolute guy they love, they're not moving. So I just told you absolutely nothing, but told you something, which is it's not set. Because Adam Schefter says they want to trade down, all of a sudden Mason Graham's on the board, and they thought he was going 5. And they love the guy, and they need a defensive lineman worse than anything. So all of a sudden they're going, sorry, we told you, Colts, that we would trade back with you at 14 if, Tyler Warren was on the board, but Mason Graham's on the board. Sorry, we can't trade back. So I'm not saying Schefter's wrong. I'm simply saying that it just depends on how the draft goes. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And again, say it with me, it's lying season. 24/7, 365 right now. It always is, but especially around the draft. You're not going to say what you need and all those kind of things. Hi, Antonio. Great to see you, man. Great game for the Dubs. Gigantes blew it. I'm like I said, I'm not worried about Walker. I like that Verlander pitched well, Root pitched well, and Webb pitched well. They get pitching like that, they're going to be just fine. Bullpen's fine. Yeah, Easter was really nice. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it. I forgot, and I should ask everybody how their Easter went. I hope it went well for you. We did your typical brunch. I will say that when the bill came, it was a massive overpay. But, whatever, it happens. But it was a beautiful day. There was an Easter bunny there, which I thought was really cool. A little live music. Sun was out. Beautiful, beautiful day. I had a couple of nice beverages. And so, yeah, enjoyed it very much. And then came back here and got to work and the Warriors and everything else. But yeah, absolutely loved it. Beautiful weather yesterday. I hope everybody had a great Easter yesterday. All right, let's do this. Yeah, by the way, we're going to do it. We will do a ton more draft talk. Yeah, that's what we all do. We all do speculation. It's all a lot of fun. And I've heard a bunch of stuff. But like I said, you just don't know. Adam Schefter's like, oh, these are the teams that want to move down. I get it. In a perfect scenario in which, and here, by the way, this is how teams do it. we do mock drafts and we do all these kind of things. They do the same thing. They call them simulations, but they do simulation. What if they do this? What if they do that? What are we hearing? Because teams know, they have insight, but it is lying season. So nothing goes as advertised. For example, everybody thinks that Jacksonville is the wild card at 5. Hell, I think the wild card is 2. Could Cleveland say we like Abdul Carter and want to put him across from, Myles Garrett? They could. Do they really like Travis Hunter? Hunter makes me nervous, man. He's a guy who wants to play both ways at 182 pounds. And if you're great at, can you be great at 2 things? I mean, Ohtani is, and people have comped him to Ohtani. I'm just sorry, I don't believe it. So he's either going to be a corner, a wide receiver. What if he's good at both but great at neither? So for me, if I was a general manager, and I could have egg all over my face on this, I don't know that I would take Travis Hunter at 2 if I'm Cleveland. I'm not taking a quarterback because I don't think Sanders is that good. And I've said this again and again. I don't want to be in the Shedeur Sanders business. So I don't know that I would take. I would not take Sanders at 2. I would be nervous to take Travis Hunter at 2 as well, because I think he might be a good wide receiver and a good corner, but great at neither. And if I'm picking at 2, I want great. I don't want good. I want great. So that makes me nervous. And Abdul Carter, I know, is going to be really, really good. So if Abdul Carter goes to, let's see, who's at 3? The Giants. I could see them taking Travis Hunter just from a standpoint of they're in New York, and it would make a huge splash. So I don't think Hunter gets by 3. Let's see who else are wild cards in that whole thing. New England's 4. I think they go offensive line. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. You got to protect your quarterback. And if there's not a wide receiver good enough, and I don't know that McMillan, the kid out of Arizona, is, I think they go with one of the offensive linemen at 4, maybe Will Campbell, maybe Membu. That seems a little early for him. He is a little bit raw. I think Campbell could go 4. I think 5. That's another. Again, Jackson. Everybody says Jacksonville. That's kind of a wild card. They could go in a lot of different directions. They have in the past, although Trent Baalke's gone and we don't have a track record of what their new general manager is going to do. I just keep thinking Mason Graham, but maybe not. He's not the most athletic. He's not the most flashy, but he just makes plays. So that means Jacksonville probably won't take him because they like taking flash. They could take a guy like Jalen Walker. That wouldn't shock me at all. I could totally see that, and I like that kid. So that could be 5. 6 is the Raiders. Will they really let Genty go? Will the Raiders let Jenny go? Ashton Genty. I mean, it's like, man, we need a back so bad, but there's so many backs in the draft. So maybe they would take him. I'm doing this all top of my head. So anyway, so you just don't know. You just don't know what everybody's going to do. Carolina at 8 is a total wild card. They need everything. The Saints at 9, you hear Shedeur Sanders wouldn't get past them. Would a team that like Sanders trade up? That would throw everything into flux. And then the Bears, to me, they fixed the interior, their offensive line. I could see them breaking the Niners' hearts and taking one of the better tackles at 10. Then you leave the Niners. Or they could go, defensive line. But the point of the Niners is there's a lot of depth in the positions that the Niners need. So if it all went like that kind of, sorry, I don't know why that's up there. But if everything went kind of to the board, the Niners at 11 could have a pick of a really good offensive lineman, of a couple of really good defensive linemen, of linebacker, of a guy like, Walker. Like I said, I really like that kid. There's a lot of different ways they could go. If in that scenario happens, there's probably 3 or 4 guys on the board that would suit them, and they would probably try to trade back. So I'm just giving you a bunch of different things. Let's see. Hi, Aaron. The problem with the 2 positions is that the body wears down twice as fast, so maybe you get a decent corner. And that's all I'm saying about Hunter. Look, I watched the kid a ton in college. I love college football. I watch it constantly. Just because you were great in college does not mean it's going to translate to the NFL. I like the kid a lot. But he's 182 pounds, and he's screaming and yelling that if they don't play me both ways, I'm not. It's like, dude, we're not starting that way. And that's another thing, too, is I got to have a guy that's like coming into the league going, you know what? I got to prove myself, and whatever position my team who drafts me says I'm going to play, and if I play a little offense, that's great, or a little defense and a lot of offense or whatever, I'm just going to do what it takes to help the team win. I don't want to hear a guy say, and he's on the record of saying this, if a team doesn't play me both ways, I'm not playing. Okay, then sit out. Like, that would scare the hell out of me if I was Cleveland at 2. He's saying, if I don't play both ways, I'm not playing. Like, really? The correct answer, my friend, is you're going to play how the team sees fit, and maybe I'll push for offense, but I'm going to get one position down because it's the NFL. And lots of guys have been chewed up and spit out better than you. So I like Travis Hunter. I do. He's a hell of a college player. I have no problem. He's the Heisman winner. He's going to go probably in the top 3 or 4. I would be scared as hell because I don't know if he's a great corner and great receiver. I don't want to make that decision. It's kind of like when, they draft the two-way player in baseball. Can he pitch? Can he hit? What's he going to do? Travis Hunter might be really good at two positions and not great at one. And I want great. And I don't want some guy telling me as an organization what I'm going to do. You better play me both ways. You better shed it. You're 182 pounds. I don't think you're Ohtani. So we'll see. Let's see. More Easter talk. I like that. Husband officially. Nice. Very good. Very nice. Yeah, I did see. I need to mention that. The Pope passed away at 88 today? Yeah, that was sad. Glad you had a great Easter, though. What else do we got today? Anything else? All right. That'll do us. Wait a minute. We're not done. We are not done by a long shot. Hang on a second. I have it. Let's get the Sweet Clean Family Friendly Caboose pistol up because Logan Webb is sophomore, just like me. So let's do this. It is time. Wait a minute. I opened the wrong thing. There it is right there. It is time for your Sweet Clean Family Friendly Caboose pistol.
John Lund Unleashed presents the Caboose pistol.
Wedged in the crack of her buttocks.
Somehow, someway, Lundo thinks this is the best way to leave a final impression on you for the day.
The old caboose pistol, everybody has one.
Did you say caboose?
I know some women who could hide a machine gun in there.
Yeah.
Leave me out of this, you weirdo. Here's John.
I'm not a weirdo. I just report the news. We got something from Logan Webb that is today's Sweet Clean Family Friendly Caboose pistol. If you missed it on Friday night in the Post, I did receive, and thank you for sending me Caboose pistol material. There's a story out of New York in which a guy lit sex toys on fire, and it led to this massive fire. And I'm trying to find the news story for it because there's got to be a news story. So I could read you the story, but it's not nearly as funny. So we'll do that on tomorrow's show because I got to find the news story. And I was looking all over the New York TV stations, and none of them had it. It's New York. They've got to have it. So I'm going to keep looking for it because the fact that a news anchor would have to talk about burning sex toys would be just so much better. So I'm not going to do that. If I have to read it myself, I will, but it would be much better. And a lot of times these stories are really funny just because of the news anchors and the news stories. So that's what I try to do. But today's Sweet Clean Family Friendly Caboose pistol is Logan Webb post game on Friday being asked a serious question about how does it feel to be in the same conversation with Madison Bumgarner, and Logan can't hold it together, and here's why.
Bumgarner has gum and on our show for at least 4 outings with
I'm sorry.
at least 4 outings with 10 strikeouts and no walks. What does it mean to you to be in that list with those guys?
I'm sorry guys. Farts are always funny. I'm not
4 outings with
Hold on.
4 outings with
I got to start at the beginning.
Bumgarner has gum and on our show for at least 4 outings with
I'm sorry.
at least 4 outings with 10 strikeouts and no walks. What does it mean to you to be in that list with those guys?
I'm sorry guys. Farts are always funny.
There's Logan Webb. So here's my theory on this. All right. Farts are always funny to guys. Farts are always funny to guys. It doesn't even really matter. I mean, unless we're in a sad situation. But generally speaking, if it's just, we're all just hanging out, farts are always funny to guys, and guys always have to laugh. And we're kind of all like Logan Webb, and we all kind of act that way in a sophomoric, immature fashion. For women, like my wife would not find that to be funny at all. Like, why is he laughing? Because there was a teammate in the clubhouse, and he farted, and it was funny. And she's like, I don't find that to be funny. Like, one of the major differences in our senses of humor as men and women is farts. It might be number one on the list. Like, guys are always chuckling and being like Beavis and Butthead when it comes to farts. And women just look at us like, that is not funny. It's disgusting. Now, I could be wrong. We have women in the room and plenty that watch the show on a regular basis or listen on Apple and Spotify. So I'll just go to you on that. That is my theory, that guys always laugh at it. And women always go, you guys are disgusting pigs. And I have no idea why I even like you guys. Like that, they are. Oh, see, I'm 100% wrong. My theory is wrong. Joy says farts are always funny. Or no, are you laughing because that's what Logan said? See, my theory still stands because I think Joy is laughing because of what he said. But I just think that guys think that farts are 100% of the time funny, and they can't help it, and they act like Logan Webb there. And I think that women go, you guys are pigs, and they're not funny. So my theory could be 100% wrong because I'm speaking for women, and that just does not always work. In fact, 99% of the time, it does not work. I can't figure it out. 10 night find it funny, but if men keep it lighthearted and good spirits, who am I to kill their happiness? See, I think that makes me right. Probably true. See, this is so great. This is so great. They're funny to us girls too. I just think in like a little bit, right? Like not like guys. Like like I said, he's trying to keep it together. The guys ask him a serious question. Like, how does it feel to be in the same neighborhood as Madison Bumgarner and shutouts and blah, blah, blah. And he's looking at the guy like, dude, did you just hear that? Like, I can't keep it together. I just can't. Now, what's funny is, and I had this, I'm really mad at myself because I edited it. And it was, let me see if I can find it. I don't think Justin Verlander would have laughed. I think Justin Verlander after Saturday's game, let's see if I can pop Justin Verlander up here. I had it in my notes and I was going to play it for you about his performance, and then I didn't put it in my videos today for the show. Let me see if I can find it. This was yesterday. Where's my stuff? Oh, there it is. Oh, I didn't edit it. Oh, man. I'll just say this about Justin Verlander. I've talked to him a couple of times after starts this year on home games. He's a good guy, and he's got a good personality. He is funny, and I don't know if you saw my cut where it was his first home start. And he said, yeah, I wish I could have been in there long enough. They were cheering me, but I've generally sucked. So, I mean, he's a funny guy. But if what is he, 42? Again, my theory is guys at all ages find it to be funny. I still think he would have gotten through it, and then he would have laughed or given somebody grief, but I could be wrong. Logan Webb's kind of just a big kid. And I say that in a very endearing way. He's just a big kid. So, anyway. Oh, you have older brothers. Okay. Oh, yeah, that makes tons of sense. Tons of sense. The ladies of Lund have spoken. They do. They have. Oops, sorry, wrong one. They have spoken. Yeah, so I give them a ton of credit. I think it's great. I shouldn't go here. I'm not going to go there. I was going to talk about covered wagons, but I'm not, because that's what older brothers do. I don't have an older brother. I have an older sister. But anyway, there you go. All right, we'll leave it on that. Like I said, Lundo thinks that this is the way to leave the final impression on you for the day. So there you go. Episode 121 today on a Monday edition of the program. Golden State beats Houston 95-85. Curry and Butler 56 of 95. Şengün offensive rebounds 22-12. They got to shore that up to win this series. But this is impressive. The number one defensive team and 25-7 with Jimmy Butler 15-4 on the road. We went through some other NBA series, including the Lakers losing game 1 to the Timberwolves. That's who the Warriors would get next if they can win this series. Walker blows one, but the pitching, which I cried and screamed about on Friday, absolutely great. All three pitchers, Logan Webb, Landon Roop, and Justin Verlander pitched great. Can they keep it up? They start against Milwaukee tonight. Huge start, I think, for Robbie Ray tonight. It's draft week. We'll do more of that. You saw Adam Schefter with some insights there. A.J. Brown has his car stolen. Wednesday is going to be the final mock at johnlundunleashed.com. Caboose Pistol, Logan Webb, and farts and random stuff always happen throughout the show. I think that's going to do it for a Monday edition of the program. Keep it right here because I got stuff coming out later today. I got some Caboose Pistol stuff. I've kind of started that where I throw some random Caboose stuff. Plus, we got a couple of shorts, and I'm working on that draft piece at johnlundunleashed.com. So please, please, please subscribe to John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, the Bay Area Sports Collective, which is me, Tom Tolbert, Polly's Particles. I'm sure Polly's going to jump in at 11 o'clock today with Creative Tony, and we've added Rod Brooks and Quality Hang. So make sure you hang out there. Thanks for watching us on X today, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Everybody have a great Monday. Thanks.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!